Okay, we are getting started. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? I'm Melinda Liu. I'm teaching the Introduction to Infrared Biomat for Massage Therapists. And actually, behind me is the Infrared Amethyst Biomat with the quantum pad on top of a massage table. This is the professional size. That is my dog Epo demonstrating how to relax on it. So, we're going to just start with my story of how I even heard about the biomat, just some general introduction to what is the biomat, if you've ever heard of it. And then we're going to chat about how you can integrate this into your massage practice. What are some benefits for your clients? How could you get some extra earnings or income from the biomat? And then, you know, some comparisons to competitor mats out there, just like what are the differences between all of these infrared mats, because there are some competitors to biomat. And then, of course, I'm gonna leave some time for Q&A if you have questions at the end. So let's just dive right in. I have been a massage therapist for 23 years, and I really don't think I even had a heating pad on my table as a California massage therapist because it wasn't cold in Los Angeles hardly ever. I wasn't taught to have a heating pad on the table, so it wasn't until I moved to Connecticut, where there are very cold winters there, that I even realized I needed a heating pad on the table just so people wouldn't freeze to death. And I got one of your standard fleece heating pads with just, a plug that you plug in, and it was comfortable, and it was a heating pad. And that's all I knew at the time. Well, my girlfriend invited me to this health expo, and they had all these different vendors with all these different wellness products. And the Biomat company had a booth there. And she said, "Why don't you go and try out the Biomat for a couple minutes? They're offering demonstrations, and you can just kind of relax and take a little break from the booth." So I remember going into the Biomat booth where they had a massage table just like this, and they had the Biomat set up. And I took the best power nap of my life. I think it was only 15 minutes. And I was amazed at how deeply relaxed I could feel in 15 minutes coming out of a busy like expo with like, people and energy. You wouldn't think I would be able to relax in that kind of environment, but I did, and it was memorable. Like I remember that feeling, like wow, that was really relaxing. And at the time, I remember asking what the price was, and I just felt I was not a six-figure massage therapist at that point, so it felt a little pricey to me. Especially, I think I paid like 100 something for my fleece heating pad. And this is like a couple $1,000. So I just wasn't like mentally ready to go for it yet. And I also hadn't really been told like all of the different benefits that separated it from my standard heating pad. So I had just the experience of it. And that alone was just really nice. So in my mind, I'm like, maybe one day I'll get it. But then, fast forward a couple months, I had a friend who was an energy healer. His name was Michael. He did like Thai massage and some energy healing. And he had a biomat on his table. And he's like, you got to come experience this. And he, this is a network marketing company, just to put it right out there. It started out as a network marketing company. I think they're originally from Korea. Their headquarters are in Hawaii. So, anyways, it started as a network marketing company. So my friend Michael wanted to like sign me up underneath him. And he was asking me to come to his office to experience it. And I said, I know I've already experienced it. I know it's relaxing. He's like, I insist, come receive a session. And it was in the middle of winter at that point. And it was the best heat. It's like a deeply penetrating heat. That's the difference between a standard heating pad and an infrared heating pad. The standard heating pad only heats like the surface of the skin. An infrared heat will deeply penetrate several inches into the body. And so it is so nice. This heat feels so relaxing. And so then after an hour on his table experiencing, and at that point, I was just like, oh, freak, I'm just going to invest in this. Let's just do this. The other selling point, though, besides the infrared heat being really more of a therapeutic heat, I had just started learning about harmful EMFs. And part of that was because there was a cell tower right outside my window at my office, and I was just starting to think like maybe being next to a cell tower isn't a great plan because I was learning that there are harmful frequencies that can affect our health, including harmful EMFs coming out of a standard heating pad. You have these electric currents going through these coils in the heating pad, and it can create like a chaotic, harmful EMF scenario. So, my friend Michael was saying there's an EMF blocker on the biomat. Not only is there an EMF blocker, but the infrared heat is a therapeutic heat, and there's negative ions that are generated, which would be, another benefit, and magnetic fields. So it not only brings like a healing therapeutic frequency and light therapy and heat therapy, but it mitigates the harmful EMFs because they put an EMF blocker in it. And that was it. I was sold. It was like, sign me up, take my money, whatever. When I first got it, I didn't even take it to my office because I just wanted to experience it myself at home. And I could not get off of it. I was on it every day at the end of the day for several hours. I would fall asleep on it. I almost like reluctantly took it to my office for my clients, but I knew that I needed to, put it on my massage table. So I did. And what I noticed immediately with my clients is that they relaxed faster. So it helps people go into parasympathetic mode faster, in my opinion. And some of those clients that are really uptight and they're basically like this, when they walk in and you're trying to like wrestle them to relax and let go. It just feels like this battle, like, come on, let go, let go. And then at some point, they may let go during the session or not. Some people don't all the way. Uh, with the biomat, it was like the biomat was helping them go into parasympathetic mode, which then made it easier for me to do my work since they were not as resistant. They were more receptive. And the therapeutic heat, of course, going several inches into their tissues, then made their tissues so much easier to work with. As we've always known, heat has been complementary with massage therapy. And, before I was using like heat packs and hot towels and things to just try and utilize heat. But this is so easy because they just lay on it. Which is easy. And that's the other thing. There's no like learning curve really to this. You pretty much just put it on your table, you swap it out with your regular heating pad, and then you press a couple buttons and it works, and that's it. Um, it's not complicated. I always tell people like you're just upgrading to like the Cadillac of heating pads. It is an FDA approved medical device. So I really appreciate that they went through the process of making it a medical device so you can make claims if you want about what it can do and the benefits. If you're unfamiliar with infrared heat therapy, it's a long list of benefits. I mean, obviously, it can help relax the nervous system, which is like the main benefit that I tell massage therapists. But I think a benefit that speaks to the medical side of things is that when this heat is deeply penetrating into the body, it can sort of speed up cellular metabolism. It also creates like an internal heat raising your core temperature. as if you were like in an infrared sauna. And this thing does get to a sauna level heat. There's eight heat settings. The highest heat setting gets up to a sauna level, so you could use it that way if you wanted to. And if you can raise somebody's core temperature, then you're kind of creating like an artificial fever of sorts. And forgive me, I always forget the medical term for this. It's basically like creating an artificial fever, raising the core temperature, but the whole point of the body even having a fever naturally is to burn off harmful microorganisms, viruses, bacteria, parasites, fungus, etc. And so you can just skip the getting sick part and having a fever and just use a technology that will create this internal heat. And guess what? You can burn off viruses, bacteria, harmful organisms, parasites, etc. And so a lot of people who are sick, like this has been actually well researched with cancer patients. It's shown that cancer patients have a lower core temperature, like they're just colder. Their body is not, their metabolism and everything is not running efficiently. They're compromised. And same thing with the elderly. So as we get older, our core temperature drops and we are colder. And as we get colder, we're not keeping up with our immune activities of, keeping these harmful microorganisms in balance. This is like a little crude way of saying it, but basically you get eaten alive by like bacteria, viruses, parasites, and fungus. Isn't that disgusting? But that's kind of what happens because our core temperature drops and the heat doesn't keep them in balance. So that's why this has been utilized with like autoimmune people, cancer patients, elderly. But just for everyday people, it's relaxing. And I would argue that it's also meditative because this whole thing is filled with amethyst crystal. And I'm not like that into crystals and like I don't like go to crystal stores and buy a whole bunch of crystals and keep them in my pockets and whatever. But I will say when you lay on almost 50 pounds of amethyst, there's definitely something spiritual happening there. My experience of it is that it also puts you into these meditative states or these like altered brainwave states where you're not awake, but you're not asleep. And you're just in an altered state where your body's in a healing mode and you're releasing all these endorphins into your bloodstream. Some people have like spiritual visions. It's I just say like it forces you into a healing state. Like it's that powerful. You can't fight it. It's hard to fight. Like you're going to relax on that mat, like it or not. It's very powerful. It's a medical grade infrared heat therapy. I wanted to show you some of the layers here. So let me just bring you over. This is the controller, and there's a side button for the power. And then once you turn the on button, I can actually have no heat. So if you live like in the south where it's really hot, you're like, I'm not even going to use a heating pad in the summer. Everyone's already hot. You can actually have just negative ions. So it would be still a very relaxing experience with no heat and just negative ions being emitted. If you're unfamiliar with negative ions are released in the natural world just like from a waterfall or when you're walking at the beach, there's negative ions. And these are healing ions that help with free radical damage. You can keep looking up more into that if you want to. I'm not going to elaborate too much on that. All this to say, crystals also emit negative ions, and it is helpful for healing and healing free radical damage. So you can have just negative ions and no heat if you want. The next thing is to go with the temperature. You can go to low heat. So like I said, there's 8 heat settings. There's 2 low heat settings. This is 95 degrees and 104 degrees. But you can keep going all the way up to 158 degrees. That would be the sauna level. Now, what I recommend for massage, and you probably already do this with just a regular heating pad as you ask your client, what are their preferences for heat? And, if people are like, I don't want any heat, turn that thing off, then you can have it on no heat or low heat. Low heat is pretty low. Like, I don't notice it hardly at all. Some people who are super heat sensitive, they might notice that there's like a tiny bit of heat coming off of it and they would say turn it off, but generally the two low settings are pretty low. Then we get to, and they color code it, so it's blue, green, orange, and red. Then we get to the greens, and this is kind of like a medium heat. I think most people like a medium heat, and I think a medium heat is recommended for most massage therapists with their clients. It's not too hot, it's not too little. They're not going to sweat, they're just going to be nice and warm and still get the benefits, still get the healing benefits with that medium heat. Um, if I do use the high heat settings, it's usually when I first get to my practice and it's freezing outside and I need to warm up the mat fast. And by the way, it does take like 15 minutes to warm up, so it does not heat up quickly. You do have to get in there ahead of time and turn it on. And I would crank it all the way up to the highest heat setting so that way by the time your client gets there, it's like hopefully warm enough, and then you can turn it down to the medium heat. Um, some people run cold and they want the highest heat. So if you have like someone with poor circulation or low body fat and they just love heat, they might actually be able to handle the high heat and not be sweating or uncomfortable. I think I'm one of those people. I love high heat. And after like 45 minutes of the high heat, even I want to turn it down to a medium heat. Anyway, you kind of have to play with it with your clients and see what they like or don't like. There's also the EMF blocker on here, so you don't, it just does it automatically. So those are the heat settings, and this is the humongous controller. Um, when you, sorry, Ipo, we're gonna kind of be in the way a little bit. When you look at the mat, you can see there's a little panel that shows you a bunch of window, clear panel here for the crystals. But basically it looks like this. It's it's like an inch thick or so. Now, obviously, this is crystal, so it feels like you're laying on rocks because you are laying on rocks and it's hard. So that's why you need some type of padding on top of it. This is called the quantum pad, and it's made by the Biomat company for the Biomat. And they say it's full of more natural materials that allow the infrared rays to penetrate through the pad into the person. But it kind of feels like a memory foam, but it's not memory foam. So I like this because it makes it more comfortable for the client to lay, especially face down. People can do biomat sessions where they just have like a thin cotton cover and sheets over this without a cushiony pad. It's not comfortable. They're laying on rocks, you know? So I really recommend this. Before they even came out with this, I did use just a regular fleece pad. I recommend like a real fleece pad, not this like polyester plastic, whatever they use now. And that's just because I don't want to lay personally on heated plastic or heated synthetic materials. That's just me. I feel like it takes away from some of the natural benefit. And also, I never was a therapist that used a plastic sheet over their, you know, memory foam or fleece. I'm just not a plastic sheet person, okay? Now, if you are like, is there some kind of waterproof protection? Yes. Biomat also sells like a waterproof pad. It's called a germanium pad. I don't have one because again, I'm not trying to get people to sweat and I don't have like body fluids. And actually, I'm not in full-time practice anymore either. So maybe if I was still and I had like clients with people who sweat or have weird fluids. I mean, I guess that's why you would need it to be waterproof. Then I would probably get the waterproof cover, but I just don't have one here to demonstrate for you. So I would just put the sheets right on top of this, and that's it. I just change out sheets. This is machine washable, so you can wash it. Um, and what else? I think that kind of covers like how to use it in terms of how do you make money from it? Well, when I first started promoting this to massage therapists, a lot of them used it as an excuse to raise their rates. And I totally support that because I am still, after 10 years, trying to get massage therapists to raise their rates all the time for any reason, really. I mean, you have to provide the value, right? Because a client wants to feel like if I pay a higher rate, I got the value of this higher rate and I'm happy to pay this higher rate. So, one of my coaching tips was to add bells and whistles to your practice to increase the value of the session that would make it easier for a client to pay for a higher price. So I don't care how you get that price up. If you want to use the biomat as an excuse, saying like it's included in everyone's session, this is an infrared heat therapy that's a medical device. It's going to make everyone's session like more amazing. It is actually. Um, Several therapists over the years have ordered one for that purpose alone. You know, and I think it's great. Could you charge an add-on? You could. I tend to not like that option as much because if you're going to have it on your table, you might as well just let everybody experience it. You might as well just include it in every session. It's not like you're going to take it off. By the way, I do not recommend this for mobile. This is a heavy mat. It is, like I said, almost 50 pounds of amethyst crystal. So I have lugged it into mobile clients' homes. It's a freaking beast to carry in and out of someone's home, especially if you're going up and down stairs. It does come in like a rolling suitcase type of thing, but you can't roll a suitcase upstairs. And I don't know. I think it should just stay on someone's table in their office, just stationary. Just don't move it. Just leave it there. And you might as well turn it on if it's sitting there for a client and don't hold back just because they're not paying an add-on fee. So that's why I actually like just raise your rate and everyone's going to experience it and everybody gets it included. I prefer that personally. Can you do sessions that are biomat only? Yes, you can. Um, I think it would be a little bit of a harder sell if your clients already love your massage and the idea of them coming and not getting a massage and just laying on a mat probably is a harder sell. But um, if you are like an energy practitioner or a sound healer, or maybe you would do like craniosacral, then it complements well with those things as well. If you did like, yeah, kind of like no massage, just like an energy session or a biomat session, you could do that. Or if you weren't going to be in the room at all, you could have some music, an eye pillow, essential oils, and just have it be like a totally relaxing experience. And if you wanted to beef up the no practitioner session, they do make a mini mat, which is about half the size. And they call that a biomat sandwich, where the client lays on the full size and then they put a half size mat, covering their torso. And that would be like, being sandwiched in between two biomats. I've heard of an oncology practitioner using that method with cancer patients to actually shrink tumors, you know? When it's a medical device, you can do things like that and say things like that, like, yes, we can shrink tumors with this, which sounds kind of wild because we're normally not allowed to say anything like that, but you can. Heat therapy, infrared therapy is very healing. And kind of like we said, if you create this internal heat and create an artificial fever, the body's immune system starts to activate and work on what needs to be taken care of. So that's another creative way if you wanted to try that method. They also sell a vibroacoustic pad. I've never purchased one, but I have had some massage therapy friends get the vibroacoustic option, and that is like a sound and vibration like piece that goes underneath. So it's supposed to be the vibroacoustic, then the biomat, then the quantum pad, and it's now a combination of infrared heat therapy and sound and vibration therapy. And that session could stand on its own for sure without a massage if you just wanted to go the frequency route, if you want to be hands off. But even if you did combine it with massage, that would also be like super over the top. And I would definitely recommend that you charge for that. Because first of all, that would be quite an investment if you did purchase all those things. A great write-off, by the way. But anyway, I haven't experienced it. I'm sorry to say that I haven't yet. And it's kind of crazy that I haven't, but there hasn't really been anyone near me with it. And like I said, I'm not in full-time practice anymore, so I wouldn't purchase it just for myself at home. But it sounds amazing, and I've heard great feedback from massage therapists. So the Richway Amethyst Biomat is like the OG infrared mat. And since then, there have been like some knockoff mats that have come out, like Healthy Line Products is a brand that has a whole bunch of infrared mats, crystal mats. I've even become a distributor of another company called Solex. They have their own infrared crystal mat. Higher Dose has a crystal mat. There's another company called Sparkle Mats, and on and on. It's a great concept. And I feel like even if people purchase this for like just their own wellness and self-care, maybe they're not even a practitioner, it's so easy to put on a bed or a couch or the floor and just use it for personal self-care, which then leads me to another way you could earn. You could sell these to your clients and earn commission. It's not the highest commission in the world. It's something, it's like $300, you know, um, depending on what size they order. So there's that. And I think it's just nice for clients to have at home in between their sessions to help with stress relief, sleep, pain. It's great for pain. So I've always liked the idea that massage therapists would sell things that they have in their office for their clients to use at home for self-care and have an additional revenue stream, product sales. And the higher ticket, the thing is, usually the higher the commissions are. Now, if you were really going to go for that idea with commissions, then I would actually maybe recommend you go the Solex route because they pay $700, $750 for their version of the biomat. So their commissions are like double. But if you are watching this and you would rather go for like the medical device bragging right, then I've seen therapists go with Biomat because they want it to be an approved medical device and they're really just using it in their session to improve the benefits and the results. But if you were thinking kind of more, I could also sell this to clients and I actually want to make a decent revenue from this, then you might go with Solex. It's not an approved medical device, very similar technology. I will say that Biomat, the Solex Infinity Mat, the Higher Dose Mat, the Healthy Line products, I've experienced all of them and they are all very similar. They have like some variation and differences, um, but a lot of overlap, and that you can't like really go wrong with those brands that I mentioned. I think there's some other brands that I don't know about. Um, I feel like I forgot my massage friend bought one and it came apart and it stopped working and it would break all the time. And I can't remember the name of that brand, but it sounded really bad. And I think she bought it because it was cheaper. So cheaper isn't always better. I think they have a really great A, customer service, B, warranty. I have had a mat break on me. I will tell you why it broke. Um, there is a weight limit. And I did have a very, very large obese man as a client one summer. And I think he broke my biomat because it pretty much crapped out after the third session with him. And that was really sad. So if you do like ashiatsu where you walk on people, like you're standing on your table, or if you have like 300 something pound clients, then it is at risk for like breaking. I like would not recommend it for any barefoot therapies. I don't recommend that you stand on it. But outside of those two scenarios, it's pretty robust and lasts a long time. You have to like try to break it, you know? Um, what else can I say? Basically, everyone I've ever sold a biomat to, massage therapists especially, has had nothing but great things to say about it. Um, I think you have to, yeah, like really try hard to break it. And I will say that each year, if someone has an old one and it did break, like if you go online and you're like, what are the naysayers saying about biomat? Like, what are people complaining about? Probably complaining about the price because it is the most expensive. Um, but the older ones, I think this little clear panel would break. And so they had to, over the years, improve that so it wouldn't break. And so there weren't crystals everywhere. I mean, these days, it's like the best version it's ever been. So if you buy a brand new biomat, it's going to be the best. In other words, if you're hearing complaints about someone's biomat breaking, but they have an old one, it's just not going to be the same as the new ones because they've improved it. What else? Yeah, that pretty much covers it in a nutshell. To me, the biomat was like my first gateway drug into frequency therapies and sort of biohacking things I could add to my massage practice. It's just so easy and it's amazing. And I have nothing but love for it after all these years. I first got my biomat 12 years ago. Was it 12 years ago? Maybe more than that now. So I'm going to open it up for questions. If you have any, you can either unmute yourself and ask, or you can click the chat at the bottom and type in your question if you have any. I didn't really go too much into like benefits. You can really just read that on the website. And let me talk about that for real quick. If you go to biomat.com, that is not the company website. That's actually a distributor website. Because anyone can sign up as a distributor. And by the way, it's free to sign up as a distributor. There's no monthly fees. There aren't even any annual fees. It's free. But it's a network marketing thing. So all of us are signed up by other distributors, and there are various websites that distributors have. But the biomat.com website is one of the most successful distributors who made it look like the official Biomat website. This is a little strange for me to even bring up, but I think some of these Asian companies that are now doing business in America don't understand things like buying a really important domain name. Like, why didn't the Biomat company buy biomat.com? You think they would? I don't think they knew to do that. So a very, very successful business-minded American bought biomat.com because it was available. And they basically look like the Biomat company. It's kind of what the Biomat company should have made as their website. But anyways, they didn't. So if you do want to buy a biomat through me, The benefit through me is that you can just have access to asking me any questions. If you want me to give you a free website and like basically you get a free website if you want to be a distributor, if you want to sell these to your clients, it's just filling out some paperwork, then you would be under me. But it's just a business structure. I'm not gonna like try and get you to sell. It's not like that. Or I'm not gonna like try and tell you you're gonna make six figures as a biomat distributor. I'm not gonna tell you that. Hey, if you want to, then you can certainly go for it. And if you want to build a downline, great, that's an option for you. Most people don't. That's fine too. So it's like no pressure and it's not weird and it's not salesy or anything like that. It's just a business structure that this company chose. And I think it worked out well for them because usually when people sell to their friends and family and their clients and their network, then it's easy to make sales when you don't have to pay salespeople and you don't have to buy ads. So that's that on the whole business structure side of things. But I will say the biomat.com website has a lot of great information that maybe I didn't mention on this workshop today. If you still want to learn more and go down the rabbit hole on some more of the like the benefits, the health benefits, and maybe geek out on some of the technology specifics. I try to give a bigger like overview on how you want to look at this and how you want to implement it into your practice and how it can benefit your clients. So, again, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope this was a great introduction to Biomet and feel free to DM me or email me at melinda@melindalou.com if you would like to get one ASAP, and ask any other questions. All right. Bye.